record on. All right, well, thanks everyone for coming to the Time Bank Development meeting. So maybe we can start with just a brief review of the cycle of a time credit. So I will share, Emma, I'd like to share my screen.
Yeah, you can do that. I think we can open and close the whiteboard whenever we'd like to.
Oh, I see. Okay, so I'm going to share the whimsical of the time credit, so y'all can see this. Let me just zoom out a little bit. Is this legible? Can you read it, or is it too small?
I can see.
Okay. So basically, just a brief recap on the life cycle of a time credit. So time credits are generated or created when a Food Corps member works on a farm or in a food provider like a bakery or cheese maker place. And for every hour that is worked in food production at those places, you know, the Food Corps member earns a one-time credit. Right, and so their time credit is then logged into the EcoJust Time Bank system, which is our Airtable, right? And then that Food Corps member has a choice. They can spend that time credit for food from a farmer's market where the EcoJust farms and food providers sell, or they can exchange their time credit for other goods and services from other time bank members. So when a Food Corps member spends their time credit at a farmer's market for food, that time credit dies right then and there. It's taken out of circulation and no longer exists. But if the time bank member chooses to exchange their time credits for goods and services from other time bank members, then that time credit is just exchanged. It's not destroyed and it's not created. It just passes hands. And then the time bank member that receives the time credit, you know, can then go and either redeem that time credit for food where it dies, or can exchange it for other goods and services from other time bank members. So that's roughly the flow of a time credit and its life cycle. Any questions?
Nope, not yet.
Okay, and if you do have questions, you can also type it into the chat. And if someone can help me monitor the chat, that would be great, because I often forget. Another important aspect of time credits is the conditions under which a time credit can be created. So obviously not every activity generates new time credits. It has to meet, those activities have to meet certain criteria. So the criteria are that the food production activity has to be consistent with agroecological principles. That activity has to benefit food production and food access within the EcoJust Food Network. And also that activity has to advance or contribute to the revolutionary praxis and work of the EcoJust Food Network. This is also obviously a work in progress. So, you know, we need to flesh it out more, but this is the bare bones of I guess, the principles behind which new time credits can be created. Questions, comments? Okay. So I'm going to stop the share there, and should I just jump into the Airtable?
I do want to pause and just like, I guess like maybe like expand more on like the reason for food production as like the only reason or like the only way that you can grow like or like generate a fresh time credit. And I believe the explanation is like, in our present capitalist society, production is what creates the most money. So in the time bank society, we want to value the production of food and the labor that goes into our food production, which has been undervalued in the current system. Lowell, you have your hand up. I'd love to pass it
Yeah,
over.
sorry. Yeah, thanks. So this is, so there's possibilities other than just volunteering at the farm is to claim the credits. Is that what you guys are saying?
Yeah, so because like accessibility is definitely like a huge part,
Yeah.
and we do want time credits to be a currency throughout the whole network, and to, you know, they're more valuable than having like limited use. So we want to like incorporate a barter / like skills sharing system, where you can like offer time credits in exchange for like borrowing a network member's tools, or like, you know, and that would be like negotiated between the two parties.
Yeah.
And considered like an exchange. That's just kind of like the part that we haven't fleshed out or practiced so much because of like it requires a lot more like
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
like action, you know, because like we all have it's kind of like a an attitude that builds into like a culture where we like start thinking like that. Like in Toronto, you know, there was like a big success with like the bun scene, and I think like, you know, it was reached the point where like people were pretty familiar with the idea that, oh, I could like, now I can buns this thing, which meant like offering it in this forum to see if anyone was willing to trade for the item that you don't want. And that had its own, I think, hangups in the end. But the general barter system and community reliance and like keeping of resources, like,
Okay.
and especially in management of like excess and the opposite of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe other kind of, you know, green food related activities that could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then you get credits and right. Okay.
Yeah. So like
part of this system. Yeah.
one of our like winter plans is to like expand into more urban food producers. So like reaching out to maybe like Downsview Parks, farm residents, and that would be like a more accessible way to gain time credits. And, you know, if they're like rooftop gardens, like I know TMU has like a pretty good agroecological food production rooftop garden. Like if we could reach out to them about collaborating, like that could be like a really great way for, you know, people to
yeah. Okay, gotcha. Thanks.
Yeah.
I just want to make clear though, and maybe it's already clear in your minds, I'm just not sure. But so Lowell, when we're talking about like using time credits in a skill share or you know, a barter system similar to buttons and stuff, those time credits are just exchanged. They're not created or destroyed. They're just, you know, the time credits are already existing, and then they're just changing hands. However, when we talk about, you know, farm work or food production work, reaching out to other farms, whether they're urban or rural or whatnot, hydrogosh, then we're talking about work that creates new time credits. So those time credits didn't exist before in the system, and now they exist because you've put in the time into food production work. And when you use your time credits to buy food from farms and food providers in the network, you know, then those time credits die. So they're taken out of the system and they no longer exist. So it's so they're Yeah, so those are the two types of, I guess, transactions, birth death transactions, and also, and then there's exchange transactions. So if you wanted to say, for example, if you wanted to help out at the fish tree market stall, right? And wanted to earn time credits that way, you know, I could only pay you time credits for your help at my market stall if I already had those time credits to pay you with. You know, they don't get created. Whereas if you come to the farm and work on the field or work in the barn or whatever to help me grow the food, then, you know, then that work in and of itself creates time credits that you can then put into your balance. So is that pretty clear? Because I know that's a point of confusion for a lot of people.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't catch maybe the first part. So yeah, so I think I understand. You, when we work at the farm, yeah.
I also want to comment that another big reason why we chose food production as the you know, activity that creates time credits is because of how EcoJust was created. You know, we created EcoJust to address, you know, issues of food insecurity and, you know, to help local farmers, you know, grow food for the community and stuff. And so that was another big impetus as to why food production became the activity of value, I guess you can say. Yeah, and
meaning, or not meaning, but I'm trying to think of the word.
Like as an economic activity. And Dragosh says that they see an expansion into other productive labor activities, which I totally agree with. I think that, you know, as
there's a principle to that work.
Yeah, there's a principle to the work, and, you know, there's a collective discussion and deliberation on what work would be valued by the system, by the time bank system, which is why, you know, we had those criteria for which activity can produce time credits, right? And, you know, and as EcoJust evolves and stuff, you know, we can definitely expand or change those criteria as well. But for the time being, it's revolves around.
Sorry, what is food ting, Dragos?
I think it's just a typo.
What's my dad's name?
Yeah.
All right.
Should I go on to the Airtable stuff now?
Just a second. I just remembered from when we did the farmer roundtables. So over the last winter, we had, I think, 5 or 6 sessions where we met with different farmers and food producers, like Matthew from the Ground Up Bread and Ignatius Farm, and we just kind of talked about the time bank system and the like logistics from like their perspectives as like recipients and participants in the like system. Anyways, the like criteria for the production of time credits was like fully outlined. So I'm just going to send a link to where you can access that, but I will also paste it into the meeting notes because I think it's very important, and I think it's only on Lumio in a comment.
Yeah. And also, I guess other aspects of the time bank system which are important to note and is that for farmers and food providers in the network, they are only obligated to accept the amount of time credits that have been generated on their farm or in their kitchen. So what do I mean by that? So for example, at Fish Tree Farm, over the past year, roughly 200 hours has been worked on the farm, which translates to 200 time credits. And so at my market stall at Trinity Bellwoods Farmers Market, I'm obligated to accept people's time credits, in exchange for the food from the farm, the food that I sell. However, I'm only obligated up to 200 time credits. And so if like in the middle of September, if in the middle of September, Lowell comes and spends 5 time credits, and with those time credits, my 200 time credit debt has been expended. Then if M comes after Lowell and says, I want to, spend my time credits for food, I have the right to tell M, sorry, I'm not going to accept any more time credits because my debt has been paid. I can still accept time credits if I want to. There's nothing to prevent me from doing that, but I'm no longer obligated. And any time credits that I receive for my food above, the amount of debt that I have becomes time credits that Fish Tree has in its wallet that it can exchange, for other goods and services.
Sorry to interrupt, Lily. I was just wondering if you could quickly share the flow chart again as you kind of talk about
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would help to illustrate why you would only be able to accept 200 just in balance, I guess, or the balance of the economy. Yeah.
Hold on, let me. All right. So I don't know, Em, if you want to take over this.
No, I just wanted you to continue
Oh, okay.
with a visual aid.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So, well, first of all, I just want to get a sense of if I'm making sense to people.
Yeah, I think it does, but I guess it's the type of work other that is possible to create, and I guess for you the 200 is sort of a guarantee for you that people don't. I guess you have, maybe it's based on the amount of food that you think you can sell, right?
No, it's not based on the amount of food that I think I can sell. It's based on the amount of hours that the Food Corps has worked on my farm.
So that you had worked on. Okay.
No, that the Food Corps, not me.
Oh, okay.
I'm the farmer. I'm working on my farm regardless, right? So when I work,
how do you come up with that number then? Like how? Yeah, like an estimate. Yeah.
It was an estimate. I can pull up the exact number if you want, but
no, it's okay. Yeah, I think I can. Okay.
Yeah. So for example, Mount Wolf Farm. Last year, the Food Corps worked a total of 8 hours on Mount Wolf Farm. So that means that Mount Wolf owes 8 time credits to the Food Corps members as a whole, yeah. Right? And so any Food Corps member with a time credit can go to Mount Wolf's farmers market stall in Sororan, for example, right, and spend time credits at the Mount Wolf stall, but Mount Wolf is only obligated to accept up to 8 time credits in total, and after that, they can refuse to accept any more time credits, unless and until the Food Corps works more hours at Mount Wolf.
Because basically you guys volunteered 8 hours there, right?
Exactly. Well, it's not volunteering, you're working, right? And so it's kind of like, you work for someone and they don't pay you right away, but they owe you that money. Yeah. That's your wage.
Okay, yeah, sure, all right.
right?
Yeah, well,
But-
until you claim it, it's volunteering, yes, that's
Yeah,
true.
exactly, right? So that's a condition of, you know, of our time bank system. And we did it that way because, you know, during the roundtables last year, you know, the question came up, well, you know, if a farm just joins EcoJust, right? And so barely has had any food corps members come up and do work on their farm, right? It wouldn't be fair for them to have to accept, you know, a whole ton of time credits when they go to the market to sell. Because right now the volume, you know, the size of the time bank system isn't large enough so that everything kind of balances out. It's very small right now still. And so we just wanted to make sure that no farmer is carrying the debt for another farmer. Because, you know, that farmer can't, like, it would be detrimental to their farm business. So that's why we put that condition in place to make sure that farms aren't coming out, you know, on the losing end of this time credit transactions. Yeah, and Dragosh is making the point. We're only just now starting to circulate the time credits within the time economy. So expanding that exchange market. And so, you know, we're hoping with a vibrant exchange market that the value of the time credit, you know, also expands. So you can do more with your time credit than just buying food with it. Yeah, time bank market for sure. And Dragosh, you had mentioned earlier in the chat that only one credit at a time at a farmer's market. I disagree with that. I think that we should leave that up to each farm and food provider to determine for themselves, you know, what amount of time credit limit per sale or market day that, you know, that they can handle. Because I know for myself at Trinity Bellwoods, you know, I was not only accepting more than one time credit, I was also accepting partial time credits. Oh, I see. You're not obligated to do more than one. Yeah. Well, yes.
To prevent like the like situation where someone might like Lowell, you know, like Lowell could have definitely bought us all out with his time credit on our last market.
How?
Yeah.
I mean, because I volunteered at certain hours.
Yeah, because you had so many time credits, like
okay.
this. I guess
You guys,
conduct is in place.
you guys haven't been working. Is that what you're saying? Like this?
That's
Really?
not true. Well, been working.
All right.
But yeah, so it prevents, you know, the situation where a farmer might, you know, have to accept like 6 time credits at once and sell out their whole stall.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are thinking on behalf of the other potential farm sites, though, right? Like, that's what that's what you guys are saying, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. So like, you know, Ignatius Farm, for example, like they're a larger operation.
Yeah.
And when the youth co-op purchased seed garlic for our first harvest this past year, we paid partly in credits, and that was negotiated with the farm manager. So I think we did like somewhere between like 11 to 17 time credits, like they were able to accept. And that's just based on, you know, the capacity.
Yes, I understand. No, I mean, that's between you guys. Like, you guys are.
Yeah, we don't want to like shut.
I understand. I think, yeah, that's enough on that, I think.
Yeah, and Dragosh also makes the point that having this minimum floor, obligated floor, forces people to come back to the markets, right? And you know, spend their time credits another time. So it encourages, I guess, more or encourages the spreading out of the economic activity. So I'm just having lunch at the same time. What else? Oh, and we had made the commitment last winter to reevaluate the conversion rate of the time credit each year. So last year, we decided to set the value of a time credit to be equal to 15 Canadian dollars. This winter, you know, we need to reevaluate that and decide whether to keep it at $15, to increase it, or to decrease it. And I think that, did we say we were gonna do that in a roundtable? With the
Yeah,
farmers?
so in
Yeah.
one of the roundtables, I think we talked about like a regular revaluation of the time credit like equivalency conversions. Yeah, and so that would, the input for that would be from like, you know, the farms kind of reflecting on how much they've like made or lost, or, you know, how their finances have been managed like with the time credits. And then we would take into consideration like if we could, you know, move it up or move it down, like depending on, you know.
Okay. I can't think of anything else to say as a backgrounder before going into Airtable. Dragosh, you got any more?
It's like my question before I go is just, I guess this, you know, where else to spend that money? Being like, are there creative ways to really, you know,
Yeah,
make
that's
use of the work that we do at the hour.
yeah, that was what M was referring to when they said that you know, we're thinking about setting up like skill sharing and you know, and other ways that people can spend their time credits. So within that exchange market. So that's, and I think for this winter, aside from further developing our POS system, we are also going to be strategizing around how to expand the time bank exchange market.
Yeah, like for example, one thing that we were thinking of trying for like within the youth co-op, like we have a really good sewing machine. So we were thinking of hosting like drop-in sewing sessions, which you could pay for, like the access to use and like, you know, kind of mess around with the sewing machine with like a time credit. So that could be like one way that you can, you know, access skills or other things. And another idea for like how we can conduct these like time bank markets where we can just have like kind of like more drop-in sessions that accept time credits or something like that.
Yeah, more pop-up markets or something. And by expanding that exchange market, you know, we're hopefully we would hopefully be providing more motivation for people to be earning time credit, like creating time credits, you know, so encouraging people to go out onto the farms and food providers to do some food production work.
Yeah, is it possible to, I don't know if you guys are connected to the city, but you know, there's like I guess abandoned kind of urban areas, but you know, that, I mean, if we, I guess it needs some kind of protection, like maybe a cage frame, which is not too hard to do, but you know, but then that would be closer to the city, and the other idea would be to, you know, reach out to the community that has backyards in our areas where we live, and see if we can farm in the city. No, yeah, it's at I thought
Yeah, that would be really cool. Also, like similar to Not Far from the Tree, which I believe they like anyone can offer.
sure.
Like anyone who has like a fruit bearing tree can request.
A third. Yeah,
A
they.
third? Oh
they
yeah.
care
So,
for volunteers and homeowners and
yeah,
they-
so you can like request
Yeah.
Not Far from the Tree volunteers to come and help pick your fruit, and then you get to keep 1/3, and the rest of the fruit is, I think, like distributed to members or however they do it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting opportunity for us too.
but they're also like almost like, I guess that would be called guerrilla gardening, right? But like, and patch of
So-
land is not being used, and like, yeah, and if we cage it, is that possible?
That's a whole can of worms, because then you're dealing with the city, you're dealing with property access and possible ownership and all that stuff, right? And that's like,
But actually,
you know,
yeah, no, but I mean, what's better roots, right? It's building
Yeah.
roots.
but
They plunked that thing, the shipping container. That's the only way that they were able to get that thing there. Because if they were apply to go through the approval process, it would never get approved. I've learned that over my years of professional licensed architecture work.
So I just want to say that this is kind of going off on a tangent.
No,
Now
but-
we're talking
okay,
about other.
I just think that it's much easier. It's a symbolic thing. Like, I mean, we don't even cage it. We just go.
Sure, but
just-
Lowell, we're here to talk about the time bank. We're not.
I gotta go anyways. Yeah, I
Yeah,
got
yeah.
you. All right, thanks.
Okay,
Lloyd.
thanks for coming, Lowell.
All right, ciao, guys.
Bye. Yeah, so I just want to point out, like, those are all worthy projects and initiatives, and that's something that, the Food Network can discuss in terms of taking on. But it's not really relevant to the time bank, or at least I'm having a hard time seeing the relevance of it to the time bank system, simply because, like, for example, the second harvest model, it's a different model of exchange, of value exchange. They're dealing directly in barter, so your work, and then you directly get, a portion of the proceeds of your work. And we would have to discuss with organizations like Second Harvest to see how the time bank system can be worked into that model, or how we can meld those two models together. Because remember that any entity, farmer or food business that requests help from the food corps, they are obligated to accept time credits, in lieu of money, in Canadian currency. But for Second Harvest, they aren't selling anything. They could, so I'm just not sure how people could then use their time credits with organizations like Second Harvest, or even like a person's private yard, if they request food corps help to help them with their garden, like, how could that household, because they're growing food for their own consumption, like, what, they're not selling food, so the food corps can't spend their time credits there. So those, so those are the things that I'm thinking about, and that's why I'm really skeptical that the time bank system they can spend it somewhere else, right? But then you get into the problem of, for example, say the food corps, helps spends 100 hours helping, a community garden, right? And the community garden is just generating food for their own members. They're not selling it or whatnot. And yet those Food Corps members earn 100 time credits and they spend it elsewhere, which means that that the debt of that organization gets spread onto other farms and food providers, like Fish Tree Farm, for example, right? So it's just, yeah, if our time bank system was large enough to accommodate that, so that everything kind of, you know, on a system level balances out, and no single like food provider, you know, is caught having to hold the bag, then that would work. But right now we're too small. Like right now, I'm in the back of my mind, I'm quietly panicking because I see how much Fish Tree is in time debt to the Food Corps. You know, it's like it's over 300 time credits now. And no way is my food production capacity, you know, enough in any single season, you know, to meet that demand if the Food Corps starts, you know, coming to me to spend their time credits. And no other farm in the EcoJust Food Network, you know, has that level of time debt. Like Mount Wolf has less than 8 hours time debt. Ignatius has like, you know, I think less than 50, right? And so if we start allowing like organizations like Second Harvest to generate time credits without bearing the time debt of those of that work, then that essentially falls, you know, that debt falls back on Fish Tree, on Mount Wolf, on Ignatius, you know, and right now that's not sustainable.
I think that there would be a really good opportunity here to make good on the fact that there are a lot of people who come out to Food Corps trips just the once and don't really spend their time credits. They mostly
I know.
Yeah, I know, but like that is like there's an opportunity for us to like have, you know, like donation credits or like yeah, like expand our thinking in that ways. Like like the people who come out to do a lot of like Food Corps work and maybe have like more time credits than like some of us have like in the 40s or 50s, because we just don't really spend that much. Like it shouldn't be like a big thing to like be able to donate 30 time credits if we have that much or whatever. And
yeah, but it doesn't really impact on the debt problem though. Like if we expand the exchange market, you know, that really helps Food Corps members because, you know, like you say, you haven't had much opportunity to spend it other than, you know, at a farmer's market. And so in that sense, you know, that would be good, but it doesn't really address the debt problem that I spoke about because in the exchange market, the time credits are just, you know, going round and round in a circle. But at the end of the day, you know, time credits die at the farmer's market, right? And so right now it's been a saving grace of Fish Tree that people haven't been spending their time credits in a serious way at the farmer's market. But, you know, but once the time bank grows, you know, and people start actively spending, then eventually, especially if we don't get more farms involved that can absorb, you know, those time credits, then eventually, you know, those time credits will have to die at Fish Tree. And I don't know if, you know, if right now Fish Tree can accommodate that volume, right? Like, so it's, yeah.
mhm.
I see what you're suggesting, Tony, in terms of burning credits by donating to the network or a given farm, but definitely people should be able to donate time credits back to, you know, the network or even to a farm if they want to, but Well, it's just because I don't want to dilute, I don't want to undermine the credibility of a time credit. You know, and so if there are, you know, ways to kill a time credit without people getting that value back somehow, then it essentially makes money worthless. It makes the time credit worthless, right? Like there has to be real value backing a time credit, just as in the same way that people have to have confidence that their dollar, you know, is worth something in the real world. Otherwise, the dollar is, you know, just a piece of paper or a piece of plastic, right? And so, so I want to, you know, I want to be a bitch about maintaining the integrity of the time credit and the real world value that it represents.
Word. I'd like to come in with like I guess like a case study of how time credits are being collected at Mount Wolf, which was that like in our experience, like I mean, I think you were the only one collecting like partial time credits, but
Yeah.
we accepted like a full time credit because we don't really like, it feels strange. I think it was just a lot of people just felt comfortable also to just spend the full time credit and not necessarily have $15 worth of food because they didn't need $15 worth of food. And I don't think they felt like they lost anything by not receiving like 0.3 of a credit back. So I think that's like one consideration. Like I do think that the real life, like perhaps your experience is different because you have been collecting time credits as Fish Tree, but also as like the Eco Just Food Network and as the youth co-op when we do the pop-ups. So there is like some inclusion of the like accountable farm there. But like on like an aside, it does appear that like the food corps members who come out to the farm and then like pretty subsequently come out to the market to like redeem a time credit, they do so like quite generously. Which I would like to think offsets, you know, some of the scenarios like in St. Jamestown where we were like a little more lenient with giving like the most value possible for a time credit and like, you know, cutting deals to like give more like radishes than, you know, would be at a different market. So I also feel like as we like discuss these sorts of things, it would be like so important to get a real like economy like perspective, because like I know personally like this like the nitty gritty of like how like currency functions just generally is like not my forte, and so I don't feel comfortable like I mean it's great to like, you know, experiment and definitely like try things, but I feel like it would be so effective if we could like consult an economist who isn't like a total capitalist, who might be able to like help us with like the math side or things, or I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I really wanted to get in touch with Economy Mommy.
Yeah, but I really don't think I mean like I think that that's like a like great like idea, but I don't think that we need to like focus on this one person. Like I think it just shows that we need an economy perspective that is also like in line with anti-capitalist, you know, ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just mentioned Economy Mommy because she's the only one I know of. So, but Tony has a friend. Can you talk about your friend a bit, Tony?
Yeah, so it's actually two friends. One I think is currently working as an economist. I'm a little bit unclear about his job, but he works at the province. And he has a master's in economics. And then another one that has an undergrad degree in economics and now runs a bar. I don't know if anyone's heard of Danu.
No.
It's relatively new. But yeah, they're both fairly progressive. I'm not sure about like their exact tendencies. But I think they'd be willing to chat. I met them through like a co-op housing group that I'm like a little bit involved with. And yeah, also this is an aside for sure, but the owner of Danu is like really interested in having his space available to community groups and these sorts of orgs. So that's an option for us as well if we wanted to have like an educational day or anything. Yeah, Danu Social House is the one, Erica.
Cool. Well, let's connect with them and at least get to know them better.
Yeah.
And yeah, for sure. Like, I am also skeptical about anyone with an economics degree, because definitely, Dragosh, what you learn in academia about economics is all neoclassical. But I mean, I have heard of economists who have come out of university with a neoclassical degree and then just living in the real world and seeing economics in the real world has really radicalized them towards the left and towards, like, you know, radically different economic ideas. So yeah, I wouldn't write them off for sure, but yeah, if you could connect us with your friend Tony, that would be great.
Yeah, what's the best way to do that?
Maybe through the info@ecojustfoodnetwork.org email.
Cool, sounds good.
So, and we could do a bar visit. That would be fun. Can we do it before I leave next week? Where is it?
Queen West, so like Queen and Dufferin, pretty much.
Perfect. Oh, sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
Lily was prepared for you to say like commerce center and Etobicoke.
I was hoping. Well, whatever.
Yeah, we don't want to freak your friend out, I guess.
Well, anyone who's thinking of opening their space up to the community should be prepared to be freaked out a little bit. So
yeah, I know for sure they've had like encampment support network meetings there. So yeah, they're open to this sort of thing.
what's their name?
So the owner's name is Josh Zachariah.
Josh.
No, that's his last name,
Oh,
Zachariah.
okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
So-
I'll send an email to connect. Sorry for the diversion.
No, this is great.
This is pretty much like what we were hoping would happen. So this is great.
Exactly. Yeah. Should we go on to the back end then? The nitty-gritty back end, or?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing the flow chart and let me just call up the Airtable.
So currently the main accounting way we have for the time bank is through a series of like forms. Yeah.
Yeah.
To log a transaction is basically like a database form, and then trading time credits also, and then the generation of time credits is actually like automatically calculated from the food core management system. So like that's, remains the only way to have, as it shows on the screen, a birth transaction. So as like an aside, so that we don't really have to jump into it, but we manage the food core work trips and like who signs up for them and like how many hours each person generates on the food core trip through this food core Airtable, and when like the number of hours that are like in each work trip translate to the number of time credits that are automatically awarded to the farm workers. And Yeah, so, and then that is like synced in with the time bank overall calculations proper. Yeah, I think you can go back to the time bank one.
Okay, so so this is the time bank database. And it's got various different tables. So a table of members with their current time credits and other specifics. A database of individual transactions. So you can see the transaction types here: birth, death. You know, there's also exchange transactions. And so forth. And then we have other tables that just list like different products and services. We're not really using this, but you know, it could be utilized a lot better and more. And as well as the different member types within the time bank. And so we have different member types to kind of differentiate between, I guess, the different roles that a member can occupy in the time bank. So we have the farm and food providers, right? We have community organizations, we have regional organizations, we have human beings. The reason why we have human beings is because, you know, people can be part of the time bank without being part of the food corps. And they can be part of the time bank without being part of the food corps because they can only, maybe they just want to participate in the time bank exchange market, you know, but they don't really want to do farm work. That's just not their thing. Maybe they can't for whatever reason, right? But they still want to participate in the time bank, and they can earn time credits by exchanging whatever goods or services that they offer, you know, for time credits that other people have, right? And so that's why we have the human being here. And then of course we have food corps members, and we have youth co-op members. Youth co-op, like these two are kind of very much overlapping, the food corps and the youth co-op, because I mean, you can be a member of both the youth co-op and the food corps, you know, and generate time credits through your work that way. But the youth co-op is also a farm and food provider, because, you know, the youth co-op runs the youth farm plot. And so that's, yeah, so that's kind of a special case there. So Emma was mentioning the different forms, and let me see. So here you can see, you know, this is the back end of the form, but we have a form to record death and exchange transactions. And then we have a form to record a birth transaction. Although this form we're not really using because we've automated, like Em mentioned, we've made automations between the food corps management table and the time bank table, so that as soon as a work trip gets logged as completed, you know, and all those details get entered into the food corps table, then it's automatically creates a birth transaction in our time bank database. So this is somewhat redundant, but who knows, we may change that. But that's, yeah, this is where I guess everyone's time credits are logged and kept track of. And you can see here, I'll show you the fish tree. Like, look, I am $339 and 339 time credits and 59 minutes in debt to the Equal Just Time Bank. And the youth co-op is in debt by $120 in hours and 80 minutes. Or whatever that fraction.
Lily, did you, I noticed once that like exchange transactions were not like adding up to the current time credits. Did that get fixed?
It did get fixed, yeah. Yeah. So I did fix that.
So the implications of your time credit debt would be that 339.59 hours were generated at the no, so 364.25 time credits were generated by the food
Yeah.
court, but you've
And
accepted.
24.66 time credits.
So what would fix this problem? Would it be more people coming out to your farm, or would it be is it just other farms accepting more time credits?
No, what would fix, well, so we need other farms, because right now the reason why I am in such time debt to the food corps is because for this season and also for last season, but for this season, I've been the only farm, well, aside from the youth co-op, but basically the only options for the food corps to do farm work has been either at Fish Tree Farm or the youth co-op. And so that's why, you know, I'm in such time debt. If we had been able to honor the work requests of, say, Ignatius Farm, you know, or Mount Wolf Farm, you know, then the food corps would have had more opportunity to work at more farms, right? And so, you know, therefore maybe the focus of the food corps work wouldn't just be on Fish Tree. So yes, we do need more farms in the system in order to generate more work opportunities. But in terms of the Fish Tree Farm time debt itself, you know, the only way this can go down is if people start spending their time credits at my market stalls. And I also wanted to raise, at least with the youth co-op, because this past season, you know, when people spent time credits at the youth co-op's pop-up market, it was the youth co-op's time debt that gets reduced, not Fish Tree Farm's time debt, even though, you know, some of that produce came from Fish Tree Farm. So I think we have to kind of tweak that a little bit, because it's not fair to Fish Tree. You know, all the produce that was bought with time credits at the pop-up markets, you know, I basically write off as a donation, even though my time debt doesn't get reduced. So that's not really fair to Fish Tree. So either the youth co-op pays Fish Tree back for that produce, or
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I think that's basically the only response. Like currently, you already like invoice the EcoJust Youth Co-op for like when you do monetary
yeah,
accounting. So I don't see why the time credit would be different, because we are operating like in like a unique setting where we are two vendors sharing a stall. And so like we have sorted out the Canadian dollars version of it. So I feel like it wouldn't be so unrealistic to like, you know, take into account like the transactions that were made, what produce came from Fish Tree Farm, and then to, you know, award you those time credits.
okay, yeah.
Like I definitely don't like, I want to like avoid getting more and more granular on the front end. Like I wouldn't
Yeah,
I don't like, if like let's say like for some reason like Matthew Lawrence shares like the Mount Wolf Farm stall at Sororan, I don't want them to have to like, you know, I don't know, like try and figure this out themselves. So I think like the simplest way we can make it, and would probably be like as an accompaniment to your regular flow market start and end accounting, which you also include like square sales, e-transfers and things like that. It would just be a new form of currency that,
yeah.
you know, the debt needs to be settled for.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely do that. I just didn't want to start doing that without a discussion.
Yeah, I think it is a good, like, it's good that we experience that this summer so that we like, no, yeah, it like helps us develop more of like a process, and it'll be helpful for like the farmer and food producers agreement.
Tony, I'm gonna show your thing, if that's okay. Just so you can see your own balance.
You're sharing my bank details? Yeah, that's fine.
So currently you have 5 time credits. The time credits generated says 0 for non-farm and food providers because that only pertains to the farm and food providers, if that makes sense. But then you have time credits for tired, which is also only pertains to farm and food providers because that keeps track of their time debt.
Right.
But total time credits earned, this shows your total time credits earned, which is sitting at $5. And of course, you haven't spent any time credits this year. So, and I've made an automation that ideally should email everyone on a monthly basis, not only what their current time credits are, but any time credit transactions that they've been involved with in the past month.
I love that. That's really good.
Yeah, let me know.
The bank statement.
Yeah, it's essentially a bank
Yeah.
statement, yes. But let me know, please, in early December if you have received it or not. And if you have received it, was there anything wrong with it? Fonts too small, amounts don't look right, the transaction list is, whatever.
Did you like code format it, like HTML style codes?
Yes, I can show you the automations. So I don't know, I know Em, you're familiar with Airtable. I don't know, Tony, Anna, Dragosh, if you're familiar with Airtable and how it works. So at the top of each database, you have these 3 headings, buttons, I don't know what they're called, but it's data. If you want to see the raw data, like here with the tables and all the fields and the values, then you have automations, which are, little codes that are created so that it automatically does tasks, like, for example, sending out an email or whatever. And then you have interfaces, which is a little bit more public facing. And for the time bank, we don't have much of an interface developed. I can show you, well, I showed you the food core management interface, with those work trip details and stuff like that. So we should create one for the time bank as well. Right now, all we have is just the time bank balance checker, and it's just a graphic user interface to make the databases easier to work with.
But it's also an important note about the interfaces. They are not public facing. They're only backend facing. And the EJFN Airtable is like, we have a pro plan, but the way that Airtable does their pro plan is they charge by the user. So we are going to be trying to minimize that by only using one login, I think, for our like pro feature things. So I don't know if interfaces might only be, something you encounter.
Well, they recently made a bunch of changes to their interfaces, so that, especially with a pro plan or any paid plans, it can be public facing because you can limit or restrict the level of access to the actual database from the interface. It's not a true public facing user interface, but this brings it a little bit closer to that. And seeing as most of the, I guess, interactions, with the time bank database would be involving like people who are part of the time bank, so mainly farms and food providers, I would think, because thinking about the POS system. So they are, so it's not open to the general public. It's just open to members of the network or of the time bank. right? And then we can restrict their access to the underlying data, from the interface. I think these changes were announced very recently in Airtable. I had forgotten. I didn't, okay, so the time credit transaction email. So this is what I was talking about. It sends a monthly email with members' current time credits. And this is like a no code interface. I don't know if you're familiar with Zapier, but it's very similar to that. And in terms of the email configuration, I'll generate a preview.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not working. Come on.
It's okay, I
Anyways,
kinda
yeah.
I think there will definitely have to be some adjustments to the style.
Here it is.
Yeah.
So it tells me what my current time balance is. Then I haven't supplied any to others in the past month. And I have exchanged time credits. So I received time credits from Lowell
Nice.
for garden and yard work.
Yeah, I think it would be good to, maybe this is an aside for the food core, but I think it would be nice to have another automation that sends one to all the food core members who don't, who maybe like haven't, earned any time credits, just to remind people like, hey, like, thanks for signing up for the food core. Or, like, if you're confused about how to sign up for work trips, like, here are some resources or whatever.
Yeah, we'd have to develop those resources first.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing with the pro plan is that we only have the pro plan for the time bank workspace. I could move the food core Airtable into the same workspace as the time bank, so that we can get the functions of the pro plan for the food core table as well. I don't know if we
I think we should. The only
Yeah.
downside is that it would kick off anyone who it was shared with in the past. I don't think that's like hugely troublesome. I think the easiest way would be to go into the settings for that workspace. Yeah, so beside the food core program, beside the food
sorry. Yes.
beside
Here?
the food core if you're able to like right click there and go to space settings, otherwise no. So then the food core program button, like the name of it that says free plan, click that, workspace settings, and then it'll show you, yeah, so billable contributors, these are all the people who are going to get kicked off if you move to the pro plan. Perfectly fine, they're all people that are here, so we can all just
our pro plan allows for 5 users.
Okay, well, I don't think info@ecojust and ecojust@gmail need to be one, and I don't think that Dragos needs one. No offense, I don't think they'll use it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I just think that like it would be easier to, I guess, focus on having what, I don't know, like, would it be useful or possible to make like a time bank at ecojustfoodnetwork.org account?
Yes, however, it would just be an alias, I believe. I think it would just be an alias. It wouldn't be a true, like.
Okay, maybe not relevant then. But
so yeah.
Yeah, I just think that there aren't really many downsides to moving from a free plan to a pro plan. If you have any fields that are collaborator fields, which you might have in the network management of the EcoJust Food Network, it'll just break those, but also not a big deal. I think it just breaks them and turns them into single select or multiple selection fields.
Okay.
Anyways, this is all probably like way too granular, but
Yeah,
The short answer is I think you're good.
yeah. Great. Any questions around the Airtable? We're glossing over a lot of the details, but we just want to get everyone on the same page for now. So any questions?
Maybe do you have like a link that you can share to where the like updates about like what pro features on the Airtable entail?
You can Google that just on the Airtable website.
Okay, perfect. Yeah,
Um,
so maybe we can. I also wonder if maybe we should like reflect on like if anyone in particular like wants to focus not so much on like the technical or back end and wants to focus more on like the exchange promotion aspect of it. Just like, I don't know, something to think about maybe for like the next meeting if we want to, because I know that like we have done clearly like a lot more developing on like the technical aspects and not so much on the exchange. And we definitely want that to be like a stronger component because it's like really important to the overall system. So yeah, I don't know if, because I feel like that also maybe ties into one of Lowell's like passions for, I guess, like ideas for like growing the time bank. So
mhm.
maybe we can make like a little division.
Well, I know I'm more interested in developing the back end. So that's what I'll raise my hand for.
Yeah, nobody feel
Personally, I'm more curious about the exchange stuff, like some of the bigger picture stuff. Because I'm not like as familiar with coding some of the technical stuff.
Cool.
Same.
perfect.
Yeah.
I think that's super important because like I said, like this is definitely like a part of the system that we have, to put it lightly, neglected. And it would be really great to have like your excitement and enthusiasm in like helping grow that. And I'm happy to, I think, help with kind of both. Maybe lean more towards the technical, but yeah, I'm happy to support either of those, especially like helping to get some of the like organization around, you know, having like meetings and stuff around like exchange stuff. Yeah, like I'm happy to support.
That's awesome. Another area that we also need to work on this winter is at least getting one round table organized. Not only to give an update on what's happened with the time bank so far this year to the other for the other farms and food providers, but also to have a discussion around the revaluation of a time credit, as we promised to do. So, and I can help with that, with setting that up. Most likely I'll be in Vietnam when we're doing that, so so I'll be supporting from afar, and although the internet connection is pretty good in Vietnam and Korea, you know, I mean, who knows, right? So that's just a caveat. Sweet. Well, it's 2:30. I think we've gone through a lot, and we have established, I guess, teams, would you say? Yeah. And what next we need to do. Maybe we should, you know, solidify what the next steps are, but we know broadly what we need to do. So should we do that before we wrap up and also address any other questions that people may have?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Cool. So any questions? Okay, so in terms of next steps then,
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
So cute.
what was
Sorry.
that?
That was Luna.
Oh,
He has a question. She has a question.
Yeah.
can we buy catnip with time credits?
Yes.
The answer is yes. We deal in cat drugs. All right, so next steps, I will be exploring, I guess, the possibilities of the pro plan for Airtable and what that might mean for the back end of the time bank, and working to develop the POS system out of that. And Erica, you're with me on this?
Yeah.
Awesome. And I guess in the next, well, before I leave, I will send out an email to the other farms and food providers, as well as everybody here, to get the roundtable process started. I hope someone is writing this down because I can't.
Awesome.
I can't guarantee that I'll remember anything.
We're recording this.
Oh,
yeah.
we are.
That's
Shit,
good.
are we?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, awesome. And sorry for my French.
Yeah, and I'll connect my friend with the bar to the info email.
Awesome. And then can you, I guess, organize a meeting around the exchange market?
Yeah.
And another thing that we also need to do with the time bank is to embark on that campaign to draw in more farms and food providers, into the network. But I kind of feel that that's a food core thing.
Yeah, I think so. I think similar to how we did with the time bank development, it'll probably be helpful to put everyone in an email chain with like a doodle, and
Yeah,
I can do that.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Em. Coolness.
Okay, great.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, thank you.
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Have a
Bye.
good day.